Okay. Good afternoon once again and welcome. My name is Gagba Shokonuche Yahaya. I am an intern training coordinator with the Temple Small Business Development Center. The Temple Small Business Development Center helps small businesses start and grow. We offer free one-on-one consulting and a variety of low to no cost webinars. We are proud to be part of the nationally accredited network of small business and development centers, which has over 1,000 networks across the United States of America. You are here this afternoon for a webinar on what you should put on your website. A copy of the PowerPoint and a link to the recording will be sent to all the attendees. Being a webinar, all attendees have been muted. However, we always encourage you to drop your question on the question and answer box or the chat box. Without further ado, please allow me to welcome Ms. Jenny, even as she takes over the floor for the presentation. Ms. Jenny, you're welcome.
Thank you, Garba. And nice to be here and nice to see everyone. Like Garba said, please do put questions in the chat and he will interrupt me and let me know when I need to take a pause and answer the questions that you guys might have throughout. So let me go ahead and share my screen. We are here today to talk about your website. You guys are building your businesses, you're getting your website together. Maybe you've even got it set up on a platform already and you realized, oh crap, I don't know what to put on this thing. I don't know what content to write. That is what we're going to talk about today. My name is Jen Wells. I am the co-founder and marketing director of BrandSwan. We are a branding, web design, and marketing company. And some fun facts about me. Reformed perfectionist. I make templates for everything and I am obsessed with efficiency. I also love giving free consultations. So if you want to follow up with anything that you see in this presentation, if you have questions, if you want to get free input for half an hour of my time, please schedule with me. I love doing that. BrandSwan, our company. So like I said, branding, web design, and marketing. It's led by me and my partner, Jane. There's the two of us co-founders, and then our team has grown to 11 within the past year. We love working with small businesses along with professionals and nonprofits. And we are big fans of bird puns. So to get started, you're looking at this blank canvas and you're like, what do I put on this thing? And we go back to basics. We go back to strategy, right? Why did I build a website? What is the purpose of it? Why am I doing this in the first place? So we talk about the different things that a website can accomplish for you. For example, you're building it for someone, right? You have a target audience for your business. And you should think about what they're going to do when they get to that website. So they're going to have questions for you. They're going to want to know more information about your business, and they're going to want to know that you understand their needs and that you have services in place that will solve their needs. So those are the types of things your website needs to address. You also want to think about the obstacles to conversion. So if there is something that comes up as a sticking point when people are ready to make the sale, like, oh, I want to buy this, but it's too expensive, or it's going to take too much of my time, or there's other resources, then those are things that you can address on your website, maybe in your FAQs, maybe somewhere else. You can also highlight your key differentiators. So they're going to come to your website and they're going to be like, well, this is cool, but what about so-and-so who offers a really similar service? This is a great time to say, hey, here's what makes us stand out. Here's what makes us truly unique. And then provide a clear call to action. So they're on there, they've read through all this stuff, they're really excited to get started with you. Is it obvious how they get started? If it's a retail business, yes, it's pretty obvious how you can buy something online. But if it's a service-based business, is it a consultation? Is it signing up for something with you? Is it sending in some information? Make sure that they know exactly what to do to reach out and get the ball rolling to work with you. So let's talk a little bit more about your target audience, because you're not going to get very far with writing your website copy if you don't know who they are. Some quick things to make sure that you know and understand about your audience. So we always start with demographics. I personally think that people focus a little too heavily on demographics. This is the stuff like age, gender, maybe it's location, geographical location, or where they work, industry that they're in. It's all of the statistics that you can find about people that like Google or Facebook uses to serve ads to you and to know more about you for tracking purposes. So those things are definitely useful as far as like coming up with audiences for ads, thinking about the visual tone and style of your brand. But what's going to be much more helpful with writing the website copy is making sure you understand your audience's challenges. And like we said, the obstacles to convert. So what are they struggling with? How is your product or service going to help them? That is the most important thing that you can think about and document. Also, the questions that they're asking. This is going to help you with Google, and this is going to help make sure that they know that you understand them. So in our case, we know that people are searching certain keywords about websites. We also know that they're asking, how do I know if a website company is right for me? So we wrote a blog post about how to choose a website company for you. And it's not just, hey, choose Brands One because we're the best. It's literally, here's a breakdown of some things you can consider. You might not be the best fit for us, and we address that in the blog. So that's an example of answering their question with content on our website that will help people find us through the search engines. And also they might find it on our social media or other channels where we share it, and it will show them that we understand their needs. Side note, I have a couple of resources in this presentation. So if you're like, oh, that sounds really cool, how do I get started documenting my target audience? This worksheet is available as a free download on our website, and the links are in these slides that will go out afterwards. So you will be able to use this to document your target audience if you want to. And it follows pretty much this format that I'm talking about right here. Okay, so now we know who your target audience is. What will they want to know about you? So when you're writing your content for your website, you break down each page by its purpose. Hopefully every page on your website has a purpose, and it's not just there because you feel like it needs to be there. Think about the questions your audience will have when they visit that page. Think about when you browse the internet, when you go to a website, what are you looking for and what pages do you click? And so maybe this takes a week of you just analyzing your own internet browsing habits to see what you're doing. And then you can start to think about what other people are doing when they visit your website. I will then take that page and I will break it into sections. So say it's an about page. Maybe the first section is mission statement. The next section is history, and then it's about the team. I'm going to show you an example. So if you're having trouble visualizing, don't worry. Then once I have the sections, that's like the page outline, like a research paper, then I start adding questions. Okay, what are they going to want to know about our team? What are they going to want to know about our mission? Is there anything specific about our background or history that people are going to find interesting or compelling or that's worth sharing? And then after you've answered all those questions, hopefully you've put some thought into it. You might have too much content, so trim it down. You don't need every thought you've ever had about your backstory. You just need the key points, the most compelling bits. So as a sample page formula, this is a service page or a sales page. You start with the promise. What are they getting out of the service? Then you go into what problem they're having. So they're like intrigued by that top part. Ooh, I'm going to read more. Now they go down and they say, oh, you understand the problem that I'm struggling with. Yes, that's me. Then you talk about the solution. Here's how we're going to address that problem or sticking point that you're having. And then you show them outcomes. So here's what you can expect after you've applied the solution. Here is the social proof, testimonials, case studies, whatever that might be, and then the call to action. You don't need to wait until the bottom of the page to say, here's how you get started. You can sprinkle that throughout because different people will need different amounts of information before they're ready to take action on that. So consider having it in every section, every other section, something like that, just so that whenever they decide they're ready to go with this service, they can dive right into it. Again, some of this stuff is not going to apply if you're a retail business because you're not going to need this whole page formula for every product you have. But if you're like a consultant, some of those things are a little bit harder to define and they require more explanation, and this will come in really handy for you. So I'm going to break out of my slides here and show the actual formula that we use at Brands One. Whoops. All right. So after thinking about, we start with kind of the rough layout of the site. So for a service-based business, you're definitely going to have a homepage. Everybody does. You're probably going to have service page, or maybe you're going to break it into individual services, depending what they are. For us, this looks like a web design page, a branding page, and a marketing page. But maybe you're a consultant and you consult on 20 different topics. You might not want a page for every single topic. You might want one consulting page that talks about all the different things that you can help with. About page, pretty standard. We've had discussions with clients who think that about pages are like a self-flattering, like a pat on the back. People want to see them. They want to know about you. They want to know that you, even if you don't share their values, that you don't have some kind of horrible backstory that they would be ashamed to be associated with. People are starting to care more and more about this. So definitely an about page, definitely a contact page. You can see this is flexible, so lots of question marks. This can change dramatically depending on what you do. We have a client who's a radio station right now. So you can imagine a radio station has dramatically different pages than a web design company. So there's stuff for interviews, for the show hosts, for the different music that's on the show. There's forms for submitting things. So thinking about the content really changes what those pages might look like. Okay, so diving into the actual formula. This is not the end all be all for everyone, because you might think about, okay, what are the most important sections for my page and come up with your own. But this is where we start with most of our clients. So the home page is going to have some, call to action front and center on the page. And then after you go through that, okay, that's the hook, but they didn't go off on the hook. They didn't take action on that right away. They kept scrolling. So now you get into your value proposition. So what is it that you do? What's in it for them? Why should they stay on this website? Why should they keep scrolling? And that's important to have pretty high up on that homepage, because you only have a few seconds to convince people to stay and keep reading your website. Once they've made it past the first 6 seconds, they're much more likely to stay and browse for a little bit. After that, we do the services overview. And you can see there's questions under these. So if you don't have a value proposition already written and ready to go, it's just going back to that problem solution. What is the problem? How will you solve it? How will that change their business or their lives or whatever it is, whoever your target audience is? Services overview. This is a short snippet because it's going to link them over to the services page. So you don't need to go all the way in depth unless you're going to have a really simple website. Like, some websites just have one page and that works for them. But if you're going to have a services page, just a brief overview and then learn more, read about the services, get started, something like that. We like having testimonials on just about every page on your website instead of having a testimonials page separate, because it's a more natural way for people to browse. And even if they skim past it, they see that you have that social proof and they connect it with whatever service they just read about. So integrating it with your content is more effective than having it siloed off somewhere else. You can still have a testimonials page, but do both, have it sprinkled in the content as well. And then at the bottom, is there something else you want them to do? Maybe this is an email sign up. Maybe this is a place to share your blog posts. What are other things that you do to keep people engaged with you that aren't necessarily important enough to be front and center at the top of the page? So we sneak that in closer to the bottom of the page, and then we end. And so for a couple examples, I'm going to show you a one-page website. This is kind of a long one, but just to show, okay, this looks like a full website because it's got the home, about, services, contact, but this business is fairly small and she just doesn't have that much content for a bunch of pages. So if you click about, instead of going to a separate page, it scrolls you down to the about section. And if we scroll to the website, you can see that formula at play here. So this is that first capture your attention section. This is the value proposition. And this actually, instead of diving straight into services, she started with the audiences. These are the 2 different audiences that she serves. So they go on that website, they see themselves represented right there, and they're like, okay, let me keep reading, or maybe I'll watch this video. Talking a little bit more about the value. This was a client who answered the questions in depth, so trimming was of the utmost importance. And then she does a deep dive into what the services are. Again, because there's not a separate service page, so all of that content is here on the homepage. And you can see it kind of goes into specifics with the solutions. Words of praise. So this is that testimonials. She has video testimonials, which is fantastic. People like to watch videos. They feel that connection to the face when you can get a face in there somehow. But then there's also the written version in case people are skimming past and don't watch that. And then this is the secondary call to action. This is the main one. So the reason this is the main call to action is because if they're at any point throughout here, they're I'm ready to go, contact, it scrolls them right down here. And this is all the information they need to get started with Livingston Works. So that's an example of the single page one. I will give you one more example of a multiple page website, but you can see similar formulas at work here. So homepage, this is their, immediate boom. This is what we want you to know about. They kind of lead you in. This is almost like a site map. Like, here's the things you're going to get in this website. Oh, do I want to learn more about renewable energy? Am I already sold? Do I want to join? Or am I a member already? And check out those resources. And so this one is a fun comparison, because the other one, the audiences were, she works with government to help line up resources for them, vendors and contractors. She also works with small businesses. We'll go back over here real quick to help them get help matching up with grants and governments and contracts and things like that. So her audiences are very defined by the work that they're trying to do. In this case, this is a renewable energy nonprofit, their membership organization. So their members, yes, we have some industry information on who they are, but their audiences are really people who might become members and people who are already members. So there's different ways to break down your audiences also. In this case, their non-members and current members are all in the same industry. So that part isn't changing. It's just their status with Merrick Action that's changing. So that's just an interesting contrast for how to break down audiences. But anyway, so getting back into page formula. So we get into the value proposition. Why does renewable energy matter? Who are they? And you'll notice that this is just a small snippet and it links off to the about page. More about their work, and that also links off to a separate page. So the homepage is really acting like a guide, a map that can link them off to all the other content that's available on the site. But if they never click anything else and they stay on this page, they'll still get a taste of everything that's offered on the site. And that is really what a homepage should do. A homepage should direct people to the resources that are relevant to them, and it should tell them how to get started with you. And then at the bottom, we have that secondary call to action. In this case, it's their blog, because they want to share content with people. And then we like to usually include contact information, footer form, or footer contact form in the footer. So in this case, if they start clicking off, learn more takes them to, oh, actually that just takes them down. Join us. And then resources is actually a password protected page because you have to be a member to see this. So we won't be able to get in. But the join us is a call to action. Here's how you get started with us. So here's information about the members, why you'd want to be a member, join us. Here's the form you fill out to get started. Here's some other members just to show you who's been involved with us. And then as always, the contact form at the bottom. Let's do the about page as well. And we'll go through this formula in just a second. Well, actually, let's go back. Okay. So going to the about page, and again, this is our formula. It's not the end all be all. Your formula might be different, but we like to start with mission. So we know they're interested in what you do and the work that you do. So now you can tell them why you do it, why you care, and what makes you emotionally invested enough to do a good job for them. Because if they come to your about page, they're no longer worried about the service. They know they want the service, but they're not necessarily convinced that you are the vendor they're going to go with. And so this is your chance to say, we will do a better job than other people because, starting with your mission, your values, why do you care about their project and them and doing a good job for them? And then the background. This is to kind of make you more human, to make them feel that kind of connection with you. Okay, this company is interesting, or they have something that I like, they have a great story, or maybe it's we've been around a really long time and we're trustworthy and credible. So whatever your selling points are about your background, you can put those in there. And then team. So a lot of bigger companies or even small companies think people don't really want to know about the team or the faces behind it. They just want to know that we're going to do a good job. For all of our clients that we are currently tracking website analytics for, the team pages get the most time, and they're within the top 5 or 6 pages that get website traffic. So people are visiting the team page and people are spending time on the team page. So even if you think, oh, it's not that interesting, oh, it's just a big list of team members, they want to know who they're going to be working with. They want to build a connection with those people before they sign on, before they make that deposit. So if you needed persuading to do the team page, yes, absolutely, put faces on your website. If you are a solopreneur and you don't want people to know that your company is as small as it is, maybe you use a bunch of contractors, or maybe it's just you. You don't have to put team, and you don't have to put like, I am the only person in this company. You can put leadership, and then at least get your own face on there and your bio. We have a lot of clients who do it that way as well. And that also leaves room to grow. So once you start adding team members, then you can put them underneath of leadership. You can put leadership and then team. But that's a good way to kind of play the balance between, hey, I'm a solopreneur, but it's still a business. It's not really like freelancing or contracting. Okay. So then going back to Merrick to show you how they use that formula. So they start with a mission. This is why we care about this. There's that background, that backstory. And then there's the team. Really straightforward, really simple, but it's enough to get you, okay, these are real people, I'm interested, and maybe now I will become a member. They also include our members, because as a membership organization, it's not just about the people running the show, it's about the people who have joined and partnered with them. And so that might be another way to bulk up your about page if you're not sure what to put on there or you don't have extra people. All right, I'm gonna walk you guys through service page formula. And then, yeah, let me know if you have questions about any of these formulas, please. Service page. This is very similar to what we talked about already with your audience. This is really your place to deep dive into why do they need you? Start with that problem. Where are they right now? What is going to make them interested in this? What is going to make them keep reading? So once you've talked about the problem, then it's the solution. So you elaborate on that. Maybe, you know, so the homepage is for a yoga studio and you say, okay, we have these 2 different types of yoga classes. So maybe on the solution page is the full class schedule, or it's the breakdown of what the different types of classes mean. It's the additional information people will be wondering that didn't fit on the homepage. It's also a great place for FAQs. If there are certain sticking points that people have trouble getting past, you know. So one of our clients right now is trauma sensitive yoga, which means that the people coming into our classes have some form of trauma in their history. And so they need to know that they're going to feel safe and comfortable in these classes. So this is a great place for FAQs. How big is the class size? Where will it be held? Questions about the instructor and the instructor's experience, although that's also great on the about page. Are there private classes available for people who just really don't feel comfortable opening up that much in a group setting? So that's one where, you know, it's not just about time, day, size, location, but like who else will be in these classes with me? They really want to know a few extra things to feel comfortable going. So those are some of the things that you can start adding on about the services. And then outcomes. So there's a difference between showing a testimonial and painting a picture. And what you want to do is paint the picture of what is going to change in their life, in their business, in whatever the problem is that they're having. So now that you have solved this for them, hypothetically, what is different? What is better? How do they feel? What is it going to be like? And you don't need to, I know with target audiences, people have gotten into this whole thing about describing like what they have for breakfast and who their pets are and describing like a day in their life. You do not have to do that. What the way we might do it is, okay, so back to this government contractor. What is the benefit of having a diverse workforce, right? Paint that picture. So once we've helped you land these contractors from all these diverse things, it will save you time, it will save you stress, it will improve your projects immensely because you'll be getting work done from a variety of sources with different ideas and just more creativity than you could have if you stuck with the same contractors every time and you stayed safe within the box. So how will your business grow? How will it improve if you implement this solution? And that's what we talk about, painting the picture without necessarily trying to imagine, you know, how they walk their dog at lunchtime or things like that that really aren't relevant. So after you've painted that picture, then you put your money where your mouth is and you give the social proof. So that's your testimonial. If you have a case study, absolutely put it in there. Do you have metrics that you can prove your results? If you don't currently have metrics, are there any that you could use or start measuring? I know for us, well, for us, it's easy because marketing has a ton of analytics that we can look at as far as website traffic and engagement and things like that. But for a consultant, it could be something as easy as checking in with your client 6 months later and asking, have you seen any changes in your business? And then you write those down. And then maybe it's a metric, maybe you get really lucky and they say, oh, our profits have increased by 100%. Awesome, write that down. But maybe it's just like, we feel less stressed, or our new hires are fitting into the team more easily because we have a great onboarding procedure now. Whatever the case may be, that is your proof right there. So it could be a testimonial from them, it could be actual metrics, but just having something from your actual clients is going to help immensely with that selling point. Okay, got a comment. Do you paint pictures and solutions? Always. Formula has a couple other pages in here. I'm not going to deep dive into these because it's just kind of a breakdown of how to do a case study. A case study might fit on another page somewhere. There might be a separate page of just case studies depending on how in depth they are. We actually had a client who is a marketing agency. They do a different kind of marketing that we do, and their case studies are huge. There's so much detail and study and market research, and so they needed a separate page per case study. But for most people, they're not going to be that in depth. And then a quick note on contact pages. I have seen a lot of contact pages that are just boring, right? You know, people are coming here, they want your email, they want your phone number, they want a contact form, but they don't have to be boring, right? One thing people forget is that when I get to a contact form, I am now giving you my email. You might do all kinds of different things with it, and I don't know what's going to happen. So I have to get past a little bit of discomfort with the idea that my email might be added to your mailing list or other things might happen to it once I send it. Or in the case of, say, doctor's offices, maybe I think, what's the point in filling this contact form out? No one ever responds to these things. So letting them know what's going to happen after they fill out that form. Do you get back to them within 24 hours? Does it take longer? Is it faster? Like letting them know how long it's going to take to get a response, letting them know what the next steps are. Like, oh, you've reached out to us for a discovery call. Someone will get back to you within 24 hours to set up a time for your call, right? Just that little bit of extra information that lets them know someone is actually here paying attention and they're going to read this because a lot of contact forms feel like they get sent off into the universe and they just disappear forever. For that consultant, maybe there's information about the office. Maybe you don't have an office. Maybe you meet people in coffee shops, anything like that that they might want to know, put that in there. You don't have to say we don't have an office, but you could say we travel to meet our customers, or we do Zoom virtual consultations, right? Like in our case for our company, we almost never do things in person because what the pandemic taught us is that virtual discovery calls are easy and they save everyone a lot of time. So we're not spending that driving time unless we absolutely have to. And then side note, so contact form, if you put your email on your website, you're likely to start getting spam just because that's something that the spam bots can read and pick up, and they recognize emails that are formatted. Using a contact form will still send you that email without your email address getting used for spam. So that's just kind of a trick that we use. Unless our clients request it, we don't usually put the email directly in the contact information. We have the contact form go to their email. And then social media. Don't forget your social media links, any other online profiles, link back and forth. Make sure that there's a connection. Make sure that people have as many ways to follow you as possible. Maybe you have an email list. Give them an opt-in. Make sure all that stuff is on your contact page or in the footer of your website. All right. That is pretty much it for the formula. Obviously, if you have a unique page that doesn't fit this general formula, you might have to rework this a little bit. You might have to think what your own questions are. For example, right now we have a new client that is in real estate photography. And so for their services, a lot of the questions are going to be specific to that world of photography, right? So how does staging work? How do we get any post-processing for the photos? How long is it, or do you charge by the hour? Like how the pricing structure works, things like that. So those are different things that they will have to consider as we start diving into their copy for their website. Just like those target audiences, I do have a resource for this. So that document that we just ran through, this is the exact same thing. If you're like, oh man, that looks like a great way to start laying out my website copy. So again, links in the presentation. If you want to go download this and take a stab at doing it yourself, you are also welcome to book a consultation with me if you want to like get a little more advice on how to tailor it to your specific business. Someone asked, do you have a formula for retail sales? And that is a great question. I actually think the formula doesn't need to change a whole lot. I think the biggest thing that's not mentioned in here would be the products, right? Instead of that services page, you'd have your products page, and then each individual product needs a description. Yeah, and I don't have a formula for that, but I can tell you they don't need to be that elaborate. And I guess it depends what type of products you have. So Deborah, maybe you could elaborate a little bit on what your products are. But if it's fun things, if it's like a gift shop, if it's mugs, things like that, I don't think you need them to be too long. I think just having a gallery of the products themselves with the titles describing what they are. Okay, actually, I'm gonna let Sarah or Garba. Did someone else want to jump in? Oh, never mind. Okay.
I mean, I can jump in, Jen, really quickly. Sorry, everyone, I just have a slight cold. But this is a great conversation right now, Jen, whatever you were going to say also. But I just want to remind everyone that this is a website planning series, and we are going to be having a whole session in a couple of weeks on e-commerce specifically. So then this is the setup for a basic website. If you want people to also pay for a product on a website, that's a whole extra step in the website creation process.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So yes, come back for the e-commerce and selling online series. But yeah, so getting back to like describing the products, I don't think you need to get too crazy with it. I don't think you need a formula because it's not that long. You know, it's just a sentence or two about, and I see that you said biscottis. So people know what biscottis are, maybe they don't. So just describe it, like what's the texture, what does it taste like, what's if they're buying it online, how are you wrapping it up? How many days is it good for? Do they have to refrigerate it? Probably with biscottis, but you know, like just some basic details they need to know. And not all of those need to go in the product description. Like maybe as far as like shipping information and freshness and how long it stays good for, all of that would be great for an FAQs at the bottom of the sales page or even on a separate page. So yeah, so short answer, no, I don't have formulas for products specifically. In a lot of cases, I don't think you'd need them unless your products are harder to define, if they're not something as simple that people understand instantly what that is. All right, Joyce says, how can we access the worksheet after this conversation? So this presentation is going to go out. All of the links are in here for those worksheets that I shared. And then I also added a couple other tools that we use. So there's a grammar checker, Grammarly. I use this on everything. It's actually a browser extension. And so that just underlines my sentences, points it out when I do something dumb with a typo or I have two words repeated. Readabilitygrader. This is checking it to make sure that people are able to read it easily. I think most people have heard that the majority of society is rating at a 5th grade level. And that's not necessarily because people can't read at a higher level, but because we are on the internet to get information quickly and easily. We are scanning things. So if your website is written at a more difficult level to read, people aren't going to slow down to understand it. They're going to just skip on by and go to another website. So the readability grader will tell you like, hey, your sentence structure is off, or these are, you know, complex sentences, or like break them down, make them smaller, make it more parsable. And then the last tool is the SEO assistant. So if you're writing this copy and you're like, you know, I really want to make sure that I'm answering my target audience's questions and it's going to get found in Google search, the SEO assistant will give you quick tips to do that. And we do have other tools that we recommend if you have a WordPress website, but I wanted these to be just general. So no matter where you're writing your copy, you can upload it into these tools and they will review it for you and they'll give you advice on how to improve it. All right. And that is what I have for today, but I see questions. And if anyone else has any, please drop them in the chat. or in the Q&A. Okay, what can you do to draw the greatest attention to your website on the search engines? That is a great question. There is a whole presentation about that. If you're talking about like top tips for, so this is SEO, right? Search engine optimization. And it's hard to give you just like one or two quick things because there's so much in it. But I think the biggest thing people overlook is keywords. So you need to know what search terms people are typing in to find websites that are like yours. And you need to make sure you're using those keywords frequently throughout the website copy as you're writing it. So that's the most important place to get started. Okay, going into the chat. Do you have a format recommendation for websites featuring products and services? I don't think it needs to change a whole lot. I think you can still have a services page and then also a products page. And I can show you our own website as an example of that. So you can see we have the main services highlighted because these are the main things we do. And our website's actually, it's big because we also have the breakdown of individual services. And we did that for SEO reasons. But then if you dive into the resources over here, or like about, we also have products. We do it for charity. We don't sell products, but you can see like we have a separate page for that. So I think just having it all included in your navigation. So maybe up here you have your services, or maybe you have a couple service pages and then you have products as well. And I don't think it needs to be anything too special. Well, I shouldn't say not too special because it's your website. So obviously it's special to you, but it doesn't need to be super complicated. I think you can incorporate it the same way, even though it has both services and products. All right, do you have any recommendations on finding a website developer to upgrade an existing website? I think it depends on what platform you're using, because different developers have more experience with different platforms. Like I can tell you, our company, Brand Swan, focuses mostly on WordPress. And so we might be able to help you depending what platform you're on. You know, with like we do website audits, and we'll be able to give you a list of suggestions for how to take your website to the next level. What's, you know, the low hanging fruit that you can do easily. But if you're on, you know, Wix or Weebly or something else, we usually don't take those projects because we don't have formulas in place for them. And there are other people who specialize only in Wix or only in Squarespace, and they would be a better bet. Oh, interesting. Okay, a custom built website. That is going to be really difficult because are you able to edit it yourself, Jennifer? So I used to build HTML websites with a little bit of PHP in them, and I stopped doing that because I found that then my clients want to edit websites on their own. Small business owners don't necessarily have the funds to keep a developer on staff or to have retainers with people. And so that's why we always do WordPress, because at the end of building a WordPress site, we can then train you and you can take it over yourself. If you have that custom built site and you don't find it easy to update on your own, I would 100% recommend switching to something else. And it just depends on what products you have, whether you should do Shopify or WordPress. We actually just did a presentation on this too about picking platforms. So we'll be running that again in the future. If you want to catch that again, or if you want to schedule a consultation with me, I can kind of give you the highlights of that and you can decide where you want to move to. Okay. Shopping platform integrations that I prefer for websites. So to answer Ayana's question, again, we did just do, well, it wasn't about shopping, but it was about different website platforms. So for e-commerce specifically, we really like Shopify or WooCommerce with WordPress. So it just depends where your website is now, or if you don't have a website set up yet. Shopify is probably a quicker way to get started right away, but WordPress with WooCommerce is going to give you more flexibility if you want to do things that are custom, or if you want to get really in depth with the possibilities there. For people that are managing their own websites, a lot of times that is a lot of extra work that you don't need to take on. So that's why like Shopify or something like that can simplify it for you. Samuel asks, is there a way to see the first portion of this presentation? I am not going to run through it again, but it is going to be emailed out. So you will be able to see the whole thing. You will also be able to access the recording. So yes, you will be able to see the slides and you will be able to see all of the links that are in these for later. All right, that looks like I got all the questions, but Garba, let me know if I missed anything.
Yeah, I think you've actually answered all the questions that actually came up during the presentation. However, the floor is still open for more questions from the attendees, please.
And then, sorry, Garba, why don't you go ahead and send the survey out as well?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and then I see a question from Wiz, and I'm not sure if that is for Garba or for myself. I am not with SBDC, but Garba and Sarah both are.
Once again, Jen, thank you for a wonderful presentation. Even as the question keep coming in, I just posted a 30-second survey about today's webinar. We at Temple Small Business Development Center cherish your feedback, even as it helps us on how to improve on the services we provide to you people on a low cost, and even as it is also required by our funders. So kindly take the 30 seconds and help us to fill out the 30-second question survey. I think we have a question here, from Johnson.
Yeah, so is it a good idea to put two products together? And I think I might need an example for that because I'm having trouble imagining what you want to do. But yeah, it depends how you want to sell them. So if you want to elaborate a little bit on what you mean by putting two products together, t-shirts and books. Oh, like a bundle? Yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer here. It just depends on your audience. Do they want those products available together? One thing that you could do, and that I've seen in other shops, is having them available separately, and then also having the bundle available if they want to get them together. So yeah, I would buy a bundle. For the SEO word searches, how do you recommend searching for these words and search terms? Again, I feel like an in-depth presentation on SEO would help you get a better idea, but there's a couple websites that you can use. Google Trends is one. You can see which words get more, which words people are searching for, and then also Google Keywords. But for Google Keywords, you need to make a Google Ads account. So if that seems challenging, you can also just ask, and this might sound crazy, but the best way to get to know your target audience is to ask them, right? So as you're talking to them and they're finding you online, or, a friend of a friend recommended you, ask them how they found you. And if they say Google, ask them what words they typed in. And this is something that we've done. So we've learned that people type in website design company, they don't type in agency. We've learned that a lot of people search web designer, but a lot of times the people typing web designer versus web design company are expecting a lower price point. And so I don't know that any Google tool could have taught us as much about that as simply asking people.
Also, I'll just do a quick plug here. We do teach search engine optimization 101 once a quarter here at the SBDC. I'm hoping we're going to run it again in December. We'll see how that goes with the holidays. But if not, we do have a recording of SEO 101 on our YouTube channel as well. So if you go to youtube.com and look for Temple SBDC, you can find any of these website planning workshops if you want to review them. But also we do have SEO 101 on there as well.
Yeah, thank you for chiming in, because I was like, that is a topic that could take hours and hours and hours,
Yes,
and I know you have good
definitely.
resources for that. Okay, and Luis, which platform do you recommend for teaching classes online? I wish I had a better answer for that, but I would need to do some research. I know there are a lot of options. I can't think off the top of my head what would be the best. Sarah, do you have any ideas for that?
I'll jump in really quickly. I think I just love WordPress first and foremost above all of the other ones for the most part, because you can integrate all of their different plugins into it. And there are certainly plugins for WordPress that allow you to have classes that you're teaching online where like the recordings are available, people can register, that you can have it embedded into the site. Another way you can use it is if you have a Squarespace or a Shopify site, you can use a plugin called mindbody.com. It's kind of like an app integration that you can then use for when you're teaching classes online. The only thing I would say then there is it's an additional cost. So you're paying for your Shopify or Squarespace site, and then mindbody.com is a completely separate hosting site for your online classes. So you just want to look at the costs, the pros and cons of that versus maybe paying for a WordPress business account and getting some kind of plugin that does the similar thing, but for free or lower cost. So those are the two things I would maybe recommend looking into.
Yeah, but if you don't have a website and you just want to do online courses, there are definitely ones that are tailored specifically to courses. So I'm trying to think like Udemy. I think Coursera might not work, but they're basically course builders. And so I know there's a lot of options out there. I just don't know off the top of my head what they are. Okay, what platforms do you recommend that we ask third-party website developers to use when building our websites in addition to WordPress? Okay. So Samuel, you also mentioned, can the links be sent via email? This whole presentation is going out via email, so you will be able to get all of these links there. So the platforms conversation is, again, like that was a whole presentation, but quick overview, my preferences. I like Shopify for e-commerce. WordPress is my favorite as far as being able to customize quickly. And if you're working with a developer, they can get it set up for you. They can train you. They can get you started. So there's no real reason not to do it. But Squarespace is a fine option. Wix has a lot of things that a lot of people like about it. It has a lot of integrations. There are a couple of things that I don't like as far as usability. It has different levels, and if you pay for the lowest cost version plan, then you're not going to be getting a lot of customization, and you're not going to be getting very good support from Wix. You only get support if you pay at the higher level plan. So when you're looking at these different platforms, look at the monthly costs, yes, but also look at the features and make sure that you're getting what you need. Like, okay, sure, $5 a month sounds great, but I can't have a custom URL. So instead of being mycompanyname.com, it's going to be wix.mycompanyname.com, right? And that's already a hit to your credibility as a company if you have to put like Wix or Squarespace or something in front of your URL. So those are the types of things to look at when you're comparing them. Okay, if I have a Wix website and want to sell my products directly from there, do you recommend I switch to WordPress? Wix does products, so I don't see why you would need to switch if you're already comfortable with Wix and you like using it. And I'm sorry, if you want more in-depth of an answer, let me know. But as long as the platform that you're on offers products, unless there's something specific that you're unhappy with, I don't really see a reason to switch. Like, don't fix it if it ain't broke, that kind of mentality. Okay. Samuel says, how may we reach you later? This presentation has a link. So free consultation with Jen right here, brandswan.co/Jen. That's how you can schedule a consultation with me. Or by email, which is on this last slide, Jen with 2 N's at brandswan.design. Do you do conversions to Shopify? I think we'd have to see more details, like what you're trying to switch to, so from Shopify to WordPress. And we probably could do that, but we need to see like what the setup looks like, how many pages you have, if the products can be exported from Shopify. And then if they can be exported, it might be very easy to do that kind of conversion because WordPress will let you import content, and so will Squarespace. If you're not able to export the products, then it would be manual. So it would be a lot of like copy, paste, reformat, copy, paste, reformat. And so depending how many products you have, that could be expensive. If you only have a couple products, that could be quick and easy to do. So it really depends what you have set up already, for Jennifer's question.
Okay. Are there any further questions? Yeah, I think we had one.
Okay. Google has website services. Do you recommend? Oh, building a website with Google? No, I do not recommend. And I will tell you why. So in the other presentation about platforms, I said there's no wrong answer for picking a platform because there's tons of website builders, except for the ones that are a service that started as something else. So like Constant Contact offers website builders, but they're not a website builder company or website. They are for email. So they kind of have it as an add-on. It's an extra thing. It's not their specialty. And the features that it offers are just not as comprehensive as other website builders. So I would say always pick the, oh, okay, and GoDaddy Website Builder. They are on my bad list because people get stuck. They're not able to build attractive websites. There's a lot of limitations with the layout, and then also the SEO is not great. So please do not use the GoDaddy Website Builder. I mean, if you do, I'm not going to blame you or anything, but if you're asking me, my preference, I'm going to say no, don't use that one. Okay, and then so Google, the one other thing I wanted to mention about Google, so they let you build a website with your Google business page, and it's not really a website. It's basically like a template with 5 sections. You can customize the about section at the top, but everything else is auto-filled with things from Google Business. So one section is your testimonials, one section is posts, and you can treat it almost like a social media account where you're posting, you know, like you would on Facebook. And so, and then they have like the services that you pick that your business offers. So even though it says it's a website, it's not a real website. It doesn't let you add a whole lot of information. That being said, if you're not looking to write all this content, if these page formulas seem really overwhelming, using that is a quick way to have a page up to make you look legit. And a place to send people, because there is like a call to action. There's a way to contact you through there. So absolutely you can use that. I just want the caveat that it's not a real website. Okay, what if your business is really small and you just choose to set up a Facebook page for small business visibility? Kind of similar to the Google business page website. You won't be able to do a lot of like custom stuff and design it and make it beautiful. But I think if the option is not being online at all versus having a Facebook page instead of a website, absolutely do the Facebook page. Whatever you are most comfortable with and you will be able to maintain, I think is a great way to get started. At some point, you might want to build a website too, because Facebook owns all the content you put on Facebook. If Facebook goes down, like it did, what, a week or 2 ago, now that page is down, right? And you don't have any control over that. So that's the scary thing about only using a Facebook page, because you're at the whims of that social network. If Facebook ever goes out of business, if people stop using Facebook, now all of a sudden that page is less useful. But it's definitely better than nothing. And if you're going to use it and you're not actually going to use a website, then I would say, yes, go for it. Oh my goodness, you guys are asking like in-depth questions. Limits of Squarespace. So I don't know that has been something that's come up a lot with our clients. I don't think that Squarespace, like the speed has been a problem. So yeah, I guess short answer is I do not have any thoughts on that, because I haven't seen problems with it with the clients that we have that are using Squarespace. I've seen other limitations as far as organizing and editing content, and adding plugins for extended functionality. So we have clients right now who want to switch from Squarespace to WordPress, but page speed was not one of the issues that they've been having.
Okay. In the absence of any other question, Ms. Jen, I want to use this opportunity this time to thank you for a wonderful presentation. Thank you for the effort and thank you for the explanations. I also want to use this time to thank each and every one of all the attendees that actually keep a date with us. We thank you for your time, for your effort, and all your patience. And to my fellow Temple Small Business Development and team members, I also want to thank you for your usual cooperation and hard work. Thanks, everyone, and you have a nice day.
Thank you.
All right.